Genitals. These are the geniuses among the organs of the lower half of the body. When they have collected enough experience, they can tell fine stories about how things really are in the big and the small world. They are like the wire pullers in the dark. The shark song in the threepenny opera says cannot be seen. But in their hands all threads finally come together. In the beginning, Freudian psychoanalysis was accused, among other things, of cynicism, because it taught that everything human beings do can be reduced in the final analysis to sexual impulses and their deformations. This is, of course, a malicious misunderstanding, even though it has a grain of truth. In fact, psychoanalysis does adopt something of the cynical impulse in its theoretical procedure, namely a resoluteness, not to let the naked truth that hides behind cultural disguises elude it. As long as it was customary to see something low and dirty in sexuality, it was also a small step to confusing the cynical drive in psychoanalysis toward truth with cynicism, which tries to reduce everything higher to the lowest denominator. Then cynicism would be just a variant of nihilism, and Freud would have preached a materialism that unduly emphasizes the animal in human beings. However, insofar as psychoanalysis constitutes a theory supportive of life and humanity, it is not at all cynical, but tries, in the spirit of Diogenes and even more Epicure, to heal those fissures that idealistic taboos have opened up in carnal pleasures. If today the figure of Freud is virtually overgrown with objections and doubts about his theory and his person, it should nevertheless not be forgotten how great the liberation is that has emanated from him. However, after the sexual revolution, things have not gotten any simpler, and it is precisely enlightened genitals that often have an unhappy consciousness. They now live in the twilight of freedom and have learned that sexual adventures and the art of loving are not the same thing. After the mutual use of the sexual organs, as Immanuel Kant in good enlightened fashion described the marriage contract, the question often remains, is that all? And if that is everything, why make such a fuss about it? Out of all liberal sexual roaming, a cynicism easily results for which everything is a matter of indifference. The longer the game lasts, the stronger the impression becomes that what we are really looking for does not exist in this world. In their own way, the genitals know, once they have gone through the school of capriciousness, about the modern frosts of freedom. They begin to get scared of exaggerations. The suspicion grows that they, too, are on the best path towards becoming respectable, if respectability means a mixture of reasonableness, cynicism, and resignation. Enlightenment disillusions, and where disillusionment becomes widespread, self-experience in the ecstasy that shows us in clear moments who we can really be dies. This is the most sensitive point in advanced civilization. The more ideals disintegrate and the positing of meaning from above fails, the more we will be forced to listen to the life energies that bear us along. Whether they can carry us, that is the question, for they can only do so when they flow without obstruction. Do they flow? Does life live? Are orgasms really our signposts to that oceanic feeling described by Romain Rolland as the basis of religious consciousness, and that our great theoretician of the libido, Sigmund Freud, refused to acknowledge because he had not directly experienced it?